thegearnetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
Look, you want the truth? Okay, then listen in. My first link.
This is the Listen In Podcast with your hosts, John Cimino and Brandon Gorell, here on the Gear Radio Network.
And hello, everybody. It's the Listen In Podcast here on the Gear Radio Network. How is it going, my babies? Let's go ahead. Let's get the gallery view going here finally so we can actually see Mr. Brandon Gorell right over there. Say hello, Brandon.
Hello.
I am John Cena, by the way, the host. You already knew that. And ladies and gentlemen, this podcast is actually brought to you by, powered by, if you will, repsports.com. That's right. Repsports.com is our new friend and our new affiliate partner. And on there, you can buy different things like Ray's energy drinks. We are powered by Ray's energy drinks. That's right. You get the can, you crush the can. Not like this can. This is Genesis Springbok. But you get the can, you crush the can in the morning, get your pump in, get your workout going, get them guns big, baby. And if you go and you put it and you put everything through there and you go, you make your purchase online, enter the promo code GEAR, G-E-R-E. Save yourself 15% on your purchase. The link is in the episode description on this podcast. So go ahead, click that. I'll have banners up on Gear Network soon enough. But again, repsports.com via the Gear Network link in this podcast description. I'm so powered by Rep Energy, Brandon. So powered by Rays. I can't even say it. Save 15%. On today's show, ladies and gentlemen, it's on the fly. Can't lie, I ain't write shit. So we're going to just kind of spitball things back and forth and go with it. So, Brandon, as per norm, man, how the hell are you?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Excited for some football this weekend again. After last weekend's, that was crazy. Get 6 games in one weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It was like wall-to-wall football.
It was
kind of reminded me of when we were watching the hockey playoffs when there was 5 games in a day. It was amazing. Started at noon and it would just go into the evening.
Right.
It was nice. I like Super Wild Card. I think that's an idea that should stay.
What the idea as far as the Super Wild Card is concerned?
Yeah.
So are you talking about expanding the playoff teams in general or keeping it like it is with the one bye?
The one bye and then, the Super Wild Card weekend. I like it.
All right. Yeah, no, I agree. I thought that 3 games on Saturday and 3 games on Sunday was pretty freaking rock solid. And we had some really good games on top of that.
We did.
So that, I think, worked out a little better than they expected. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that format stick. But you know what? The format on this show it's not sticking today. So how about this? How about we open our first pack of NBA Hoops cards right now to start us off? Because I already opened the damn thing.
That's always a good way.
It's a great way to start it. So again, refreshing everybody, I was gifted 1990s NBA Hoops trading cards, and the hope is to try and find the Mark Jackson card with the Menendez brothers. All right. Okay, so right now I can tell you right now all of these.
Oh,
I am so glad I brought out a third pack because
your memory.
Brian Shaw, David Robinson, Reggie Miller, LaSalle Thompson, Scott Skiles, Kenny Smith, all doubles.
Booze.
Terry Teagle was not. Nick Anderson, John Bagley.
Where's the Olden Polonese card?
John Paxton. He's not a double.
Paxton's a double.
Is he a double?
Yeah.
Is Horace Grant a double?
Hogo is not, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think Horace was. Clyde the Glide is a double here. Jack Haley.
Dry snitch,
Petrovic,
Horace Grant.
And Mel Turvin. So we just opened, we started and we opened and got Horace Grant out of it. So not Mark Jackson. We got two packs left. So we'll open those a little bit later on. But all right. First things first. Today's news. Speaking of sports, Urban Meyer, Brandon, your boy, one of the most celebrated.
Why is he my boy?
Huh?
Everyone that I hate is my boy.
That's right.
I don't understand that.
You understand? That's the gimmick, man. That's just
No.
the thing. That's like when in the beginning when I called you TV Brandon Gorell.
That works with me and you though. Everyone else is like, oh, he likes Urban Meyer. That's weird.
No. The joke is I say your boy, and then say whomever your boy really isn't, and then your disgusted look and your acknowledgement that he is not your boy gives it away that he is not your boy.
I guess it helps now.
What's that?
I guess that helps now that we have video.
Right. Yes, it definitely helps now.
Look on air.
So word of the wise, go back a few years in the archives and just listen to the just audio, and then you can go ahead and think of that. Think of that there. But anyways,
the mashup of my boys.
Urban Meyer, after many years of constantly being rumored to go to the NFL, is headed to the NFL. 56 years old, and he won national titles in 2006 and 2008 with the Gators and 2014 with the Ohio State Buckeyes, which Ohio State sucks. Thanks, Jim.
I'm looking at this picture with Urban Meyer and it's got Dwayne Haskins in the background, and Dwayne Haskins looks like one of the Fat Albert kids, man. Like he just looks like Mushmouth or I don't know, man. He just looks ridiculous in this picture.
So it does not appear that I have. I can't see if there's any details here on the deal.
Deal?
On the deal.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal was. It was supposed to be. It was rumored he wanted like a lot of money. I
would think because he retired twice. Because of health,
this
health reasons,
heart problems,
and his family. So I guess with somebody that has
scandal at Ohio State,
why the hell are you going to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars? I mean,
it's scandal at Ohio State. That heart fucking issue was bullshit.
Yeah, it's
you just be like, oh, my heart's better now.
Heart's better, and you're going to a harder job. Tasked with changing around the fortunes of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He does have the number 1 overall pick,
which will be Trevor Lawrence.
So he's got his quarterback now. He's building his system. He's getting.
They don't have a bad team around it. They have definite need at quarterback. They've got a couple of good wide receivers. They've got some good defenders. But they're very young. The whole team's very young. So I think it's a good move to bring someone in like a Urban Meyer for that team. But I think getting Trevor Lawrence was probably like the decision. Like that's the decider right there. Like if they were drafting second or third, I don't think he takes that job. So it's a good move, and I don't think that Jacksonville is as bad as their record indicated. They were close in a lot of games. I mean, they were close with Green Bay. Excuse me. They had some close games this past year, and quarterback was a definite weakness. I know your boy Gardner Minshew, who you liked a lot, but he just wasn't the answer there. I mean,
no, he was not the answer there, unfortunately, and that's too bad.
I mean, you look at their schedule though. Like this past season, they beat the Colts the opening week, and it was their only win. But then they lost the Titans by a field goal. They got hammered by the Dolphins. They lost to the Bengals by a touchdown. Then they got beat down pretty bad by the Texans and Lions. But then they lost by 10 to the Chargers, 2 to the Texans, 4 to Green Bay. Got smoked by the Steelers, lost by 2 to the Browns, 3 to the Vikings, smoked by Tennessee the second time, smoked by the Ravens, smoked by the Bears. Like that was those 3 weeks right there were like, okay, the Jets won. It's time to go into tank mode because they just F themselves. And then the Colts game, 28-14 was the final score in that last week, but the Colts needed to get in. But I mean, you've got James Robinson, their running back. He, rushed for over 1,000 yards this year with a not so good team. DJ Chalk Jr. is a pretty good wide receiver. On defense, they've got some guys like, they still got Schobert at linebacker who's still playing really well. It's a team that has a lot of young guys. They've made quite a few draft picks the last couple of years, and they're not terrible draft picks, like they've got Chanot. That's another guy that was playing really well. He had a little bit of injury issues in the middle there, but he still played 14 games, still got, almost 60 receptions and 600 yards with no quarterbacks. I mean, they were going with Glennon. They went with some rookie, Jake Luton. And then they had Mike Glennon, and then they had Gardner Minshew for the other 9. And Minshew's numbers, he wasn't terrible. I mean, he threw for 2,300 yards, or 2,200 yards, sorry. 16 touchdowns, 5 picks, but he got sacked 27 times. That was kind of a problem. Overall, he wasn't terrible, but he wasn't going to win them any games either.
Well, yeah, I don't know how much of that was him or how much of that was the coaching there.
Yeah, Doug Marrone was not a good coach.
When you're looking at Minshew's career totals thus far, he's got 37 touchdowns and 11 interceptions in 2 seasons, and that's really not bad, all things considering. When you compare him to this other person that I have up here, through his first 2 years, he threw 30 touchdowns and 21 interceptions. Do you know who that person is?
I know you're going to say it. Who? Is it Joshua Allen?
It's Josh Allen. Josh Allen, through his first 2 years, statistically,
not as good as
Gardner Minshew, at least in the passing forefront. So I don't think Gardner Minshew was going to have a breakout third season where he was going to be in the MVP category. No. That is you don't know. We don't know because he's not there yet. He's going to be entering his third season. He's not going to be given that chance now that Trevor Lawrence is going to be there. But what a dynamic that's going to be in Jacksonville, man. You have your starting quarterback, presumably will be Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
And then the polar opposite is Gardner Minshew, the hippie over there. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know, man. Like, I like Minshew, but he just doesn't do stuff that really, I don't know, that really dazzles you, that really okay, that guy's going to, his deep balls are not great. I don't know, his completion percentage is kind of low. 60s is not great. He takes a lot of sacks, which means he holds the ball too damn long, which means he's not doing a good job making reads. So I don't know. I mean, again, they're not going to pass on Trevor Lawrence because, maybe Gardner Minshew will have a great third season.
No, and if the Jets were in the number 1 overall position, they would have drafted Trevor Lawrence as well, regardless of whether or not they have Sam Darnold. So
I don't think any team was not going to draft Trevor Lawrence.
Probably not.
If Green Bay had the number 1 pick, they would still pick him.
Yeah, so. I mean,
he's like the Andrew Luck. Like you're just not going to pass on that guy.
For me as a Jets fan, being this close, I know to that. I
know. What though?
It's still a little bitter.
I hope you guys draft Devonta Smith. Like you really, really, really should.
That would all indications are they're intending on keeping Sam Darnold, so you might as well
get Smith. I mean, you get that kind of a playmaker on your team that changes a lot of your offense.
Right. Look at Stephon Diggs with the Bills. Change that offense dramatically.
This kid he's ridiculous though. Like he kind of made his coming out party at the national title game against Georgia, and made the game winning touchdown, and it was kind of his coming out party. But like he was like 4th on the depth chart like 2 years ago. Yeah. And then this year he sets all kinds of records and he wins the Heisman. Like one of the rare receiver Heismans that are out there, and his numbers were just insane. I mean, that national title game alone, like you could look at the national title game and go, okay, that was a fluke. But then you look at his numbers for the whole season, you're like, no, that wasn't a fluke. The guy had like 26 touchdowns this year. It's like, it's insane the kind of numbers that dude put up this entire season. And to have it to have it just be that good in a first half. Like I'm really bummed out that he hurt his hand, he jammed his finger, like dislocated it. in that game, because if he didn't dislocate his finger, oh man, I can't imagine like to see a wide receiver get like over 300 yards receiving.
Yeah, that would be
national title game. It wasn't like they were playing Suck State, like, hey, we're playing, Joe's School of the Blind, where like you're running up the scoreboard and running up stats. I mean, you were playing the national title game, and this guy put up those numbers.
Right.
If the Jets don't draft him, I mean, you might want to just find a new franchise to root for. They go, we're going to draft an offensive lineman second.
I tell you, I've never been closer to leaving the fan base, to leaving the org.
If you get Devonta Smith, I'm telling you, that could be a franchise turning.
I don't disagree with you,
because he's going to get bigger and stronger too.
Right,
like,
and then but you've also got on the other side would be Denzel Mims.
Right, you got those two guys with Darnold. You built up your line a bit last year. You beefed it up. I mean, they could do it. They could make a huge turnaround with something like that, and a little more depth in their draft too. But they have to go with number 2 with Devonta Smith. I would do the one. But I was hearing all this stuff before that game, like, oh, they're going to draft Justin Fields. I'm like, don't draft Justin Fields. Like, I am never ever going to be sold on an Ohio State quarterback. They play great in college. They don't do shit in the NFL. Like, Terrell Pryor became a wide receiver. That's how bad he ended up being.
Right. Cardale Jones got benched in the XFL.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins, Cardale Jones. Cardale Jones was an anomaly, though. He had that one good game because he came in for Dobbins.
Yeah, he came in.
Dobbins was hurt.
Yeah.
And then he parlayed that into a higher draft pick because he had a big arm. But like, you look at some of the other quarterbacks, like Haskins. Haskins is another perfect example of it. Like, I just
like the discussion could
I think Fields is better. I think Fields is better, but I honestly don't think he should be even the second quarterback taken in that draft. Like I said, he had a good game against Clemson after having kind of an up and down year this year. Mm-hmm. But he still has that issue with the one read where he kind of stares down his one target. And then, like, it's either he's going to run or he's going to, just throw the ball away. He definitely needs to improve that. I mean, I think he's better than some of the guys that I just mentioned, but at the same time, like, I just don't trust Ohio State quarterbacks. It's kind of like USC quarterbacks. Like, the only quarterback that came out that actually like mattered and like was worth a damn was Carson Palmer. I mean, Darnold, the book's not closed on that guy yet, but like,
if you ask a certain portion of the Jets fan base, it is.
Matt Leinart was a good example of just not being a good, quarterback in the NFL. And, it's like, I don't know. If the Jets don't draft Smith at 2, the only thing that would be worth it is that they could trade for like a playmaking wide receiver and like 2 first-round picks. Like, it just, I cannot see them passing on him, because if they pass on him, he's going to Miami, and Miami's going to be fucking loaded.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so, but I don't know. Again, we're still in the Jets are still in the search for a new coach.
The goddamn Jets.
I don't know, man. It's just the goddamn Jets. That's
well, they interviewed twice Robert Saleh, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. Robert Saleh, and then what's his name? The Arthur something from the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of hoping for Saleh, honestly.
Saleh's a defensive guy, though.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. At this point, I don't care if it's an offensive or a defensive guy. I just want somebody that's competent. I want a competent head coach. I
just don't know how competent he is, though. He's kind of a fucking nut. Like, he reminds me of Mike Singletary. Remember how fired up and crazy Mike Singletary was, and then he took over the 49ers job?
Yeah, but
turned that crazy down. Like, I don't know, man.
He dropped his pants in front of Vernon Davis.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I can't see a bunch of guys like on both sides of the ball getting like I could see, especially if they aren't winning, that act where he's screaming and yelling and waving his arms and like chomping all over the place. Like, I can see that getting real old and real quick with players, especially when you're coming to a team that has not been winning. I don't know, man. Like, right now, the way the league is, offensive guys are kind of like, that's what people are looking for. I mean, they're looking at the Sean McVays and the Matt LaFleurs and, the Andy Reids are like all offensive gurus.
Yes, but I mean, you look at the playoff picture now, and you've got Buccaneers, Saints, both the defensive guys in there. Ravens, Bills, both defensive guys.
Buccaneers? No.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking. I'm thinking of Bowles being the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, he's their coordinator. You've got Peyton,
the Ravens, Bills. McDermott's a defensive guy, and look at him.
Yeah, so is Harbaugh.
Right.
But the guy that's running the Browns right now is not. Either is Andy Reid, Kevin Stefanski. Andy Reid's not. Matt LaFleur is not. McVay's not. McVay's an offensive coach, and he's got the number one defense in the league. You've got McVay, you've got LaFleur, and then you look over on the other part of the NFC, you've got Peyton and Arians. Like, all offensive guys, except for those two that you mentioned. I mean, those guys are look at what happened to Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's a defensive guy. Defense. Look what he's doing with that offense. He's got one of the best receivers in the league in DK Metcalf. He's got one of the top maybe 15, 20 receivers in the league in Tyler Lockett. He's got one of the top 5, maybe 6, depending on who you're arguing about, quarterbacks in the league. Like, and they're not scoring. Like, they were junk. They were junk against the Rams, and I think that's a problem. And then you listen to Pete Carroll say that he wants to kind of get back to basics with the offense and start running the ball again. It's like, running the ball is nice, but that better include a dynamic passing game off of it, because if you can't get that run going and you're going to throw Russell Wilson for play action pass, they don't respect the run. They're coming after Wilson on that play action pass. And that's why he's running for his life half the time, because on a play action pass, you block like you're running and then you pass block. But by then, guys are already by him and they're already after Wilson. I don't know if it's the best move for the Jets to grab somebody like that, who is going to be that in your face, that fucking nuts. It works great if you're coaching just the defense and you're just yelling at the defense and you're getting those guys all fired up, because defenders are a different animal. Mm-hmm. Those guys are fucking animals anyways. Their whole thing is getting fired up and getting after somebody. Where in your offense, you got a lot of personalities on offense. Like, those guys are not quite, like, they're not into the whole rah-rah shit. Like, they want X's and O's. They want to know, like, okay, what's our scheme? What's our scheme going to be? I mean, if Salah comes there, he better bring, like, one of the top offensive coordinators in the league. Otherwise, you're going to be toiling around in the basement with, vanilla offense, but you're going to have a really great defense. And that's kind of like the Todd Bowles era. Like, Todd Bowles had pretty good defenses and then didn't do shit on offense. Even Rex Ryan. I mean, they got to the playoffs those years because of their defense.
Well, their offense those 2 years too were also largely built by Eric Mangini. So
right,
they were Mangini leftovers that were there.
Yeah, and they were, and he did just enough on offense because he did so much with the defense that their defense became like a top 5 defense, and that was carrying them. But then when it came down to, we're facing the number 4 defense, the offense kind of looked like shit, and then they would be all done.
Right.
So I don't know, man. Like, I would really like to, my personal hope for the Jets is that they can somehow find a way to convince Eric Bieniemy to come there. I think that he's a really, really solid candidate. I also think a Byron Leftwich would be a good candidate too. He's the coordinator in Tampa.
I know that they're waiting on a lot of the talk, like bringing in for a second interview or whatever, for Bieniemy and Brian Dable. They're still playing. They're still in the playoffs, so it's hard for them to break away.
Playoffs.
those guys, their teams to go interview for another team, and much less one in the same division as one of those teams. So, I did read that they were very high on Dable, though. So,
and he's coordinator for Buffalo. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I mean, again, I'd be very careful with that because they're saying that Brian Dable resurrected his career this year with his offense, but how much does that had to do with the personnel? Like, how much of that had to do with Josh Allen making that leap? How much of that had to do with Stephon Diggs coming into the team?
Right.
And having that second year with Cole Beasley and having Brown as like your third option.
Speaking of Cole Beasley, did you see him spitting bars?
I did. I sure did.
That was great. If the Bills make the Super Bowl, he needs to do the halftime show.
Yes, him in the weekend. I just, again, it's like Brian Dable's been around and he's had kind of like tepid success. It's hard to say like, okay, let's give that guy the job. Like what, how much is that is to do with his personnel? Like maybe he's one of those guys that can write pretty decent X and O's, but the execution, it's always up to the players, but like sometimes the players can make you look better than you are.
Right.
And sometimes there's been a
lot of examples of that. And
there's the schemes also with the coaches who aren't willing to adapt. A perfect example is Mike McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
Mike McCarthy coached Green Bay, and he had that offense humming like it was, one of the top offenses of every year.
Mm-hmm.
Won a Super Bowl, resurrected Favre's career. After the Super Bowl, they went almost undefeated, and they fizzled out in the playoffs because they had no defense. But he got them to a couple of championship games. But each year, the offense got less sharp because he never changed his offense, and the league caught up to it.
Right.
So there was no creativity. I mean, coaching matters. I mean, you got rid of Mike McCarthy that season, didn't do a whole heck of a lot on the offensive side of the ball, added some, key pieces on the defense to make it a little better. And you took a 6-9-1 team and turned around to 13-3. And then just to show it wasn't a fluke, they did it again the next year, but even better at 13-3. It matters hiring a good head coach. Scheme just doesn't, it isn't all just scheme. I mean, a lot of the people that were, saying, oh, I don't know about this Matt LaFleur guy. I don't know if he can handle Rodgers. He was the perfect guy to handle Rodgers.
Right. Because
he had so much belief in his offense that he was able to convince Aaron Rodgers to believe in his offense.
Okay.
So that's why I'm very skeptical on especially a losing team that has, a lot of youth and less success on the offensive side of the ball, having some raving lunatic defensive coordinator come in there and start running the team
and scare the shit out of them.
Can you imagine Darnold throwing a bad pick and this guy fucking storming around the sidelines and then grabbing him when he comes over and starts yelling at him and shit? Like, I can't see it. I can see it with a defensive guy because their defensive guy is going to get pissed and he's going to get fired up and he's going to go kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Darnold is going to go out there and he's either going to overthrow somebody or he's going to get too fucking scared in his head that he's going to yell at it again and then he's going to fucking throw another interception.
You're going to see ghosts again.
The guy's going to be throwing headsets and kicking tablets and dumping water bottles.
At that point,
I don't know, man. I've watched the guy and he's fucking nuts. Like, he's a good defensive coach. But again, like, how much of that is the personnel he has? Like, he had really good personnel in San Francisco until they got all injured this year.
Right.
But I don't know. A lot of Jets talk here. A team that's not even in the playoffs.
Yes, enough Jets talk. I mean, we could have started and left it at Adam Gase is still fired from the New York Jets, and that would have been a happier story. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, we will talk a divisional round weekend. 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. We'll talk about a little bit about all of them when we come back. Stick around.
What's up, Rock Soldiers? This is Robbie Vegas coming at you from the All Bets Are Off podcast. If you are into horror movies, the paranormal, professional wrestling, or music, this is the place for you. We're bringing you the latest and greatest interviews in all of the above: music, horror, and of course, professional wrestling. So tune in on the Gear Network. Check out All Bets Are Off. Rate us, like us, subscribe to us, leave us your comments, tell us what you think. And we'll catch you soon on the All Bets Are Off podcast, dropping every Sunday at noon.
The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here!
Breaking news. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. At NY Jets on Twitter. Quote, "We've reached an agreement in principle with Robert Saleh to become our head coach." Brandon, the first half of the fucking podcast is already outdated. What the fuck, dude?
Oh, there goes your hope, man.
Well, I mean, I like the guy. I
just went over shitting all over the guy, but I don't know. I'm laughing at Charles Barkley's quote here. That said, KD went from the Splash Brothers to the Dribble Brothers. Someone posted a thing last night too with playing NBA 2K, and it had Harden on the team. It showed Kyrie doing all these dribble handles behind his back and everything, and then he fakes a shot, and then he passes to KD. KD gets the double team and passes to Harden. Harden sits there and dribbles again, and then passes to Kyrie, who dribbles some more, and then throw it to KD with 3 seconds left on the shot clock, and he just fires up the shot. It's like, yeah, it's going to be. I looked at that trade too, and I'm like, is anybody there to play defense? Because none of those three are going to play defense. Like, this 3-year starting five.
Well, I'm telling you, here's the.
You're going to have to score 150.
All right, so the Jets, again, have agreed in principle for Robert Saleh, the San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator for the past 4 seasons, to become their head coach. He will become the 20th head coach in franchise history and their 18th coach appointed to take green and white's reins before the start of a new season. Under Saleh's direction in 2020, San Francisco had a top 10 defense in total yards. They were 5th. Rushing yards, 7th, and passing yards.
Official Jets one, too, so it's not like it's a,
No, this is the New York Jets. I'm reading it directly from NewYorkJets.com right now.
Definitely hired him.
In 2019, San Francisco finished 2nd overall in the league in total defense and first in 281.8 yards per game allowed. It was the best by the team since 1997, and first in pass defense with 169.2 passing yards.
Yeah, it's on NFL.
So, Coach Saleh, baby. He's gonna scare the shit out of Sam.
You know what? As long as he doesn't, blow the second pick and go with some defender, and then just leave that cat there. I'm like, good luck defending him for the next 10 years while he's playing for the Miami Dolphins. Because if you don't draft him, the Dolphins will.
I'm telling you right now. Now, of course, all of my alerts are coming through now on the because I work for the New York Jets apparently, but. Yeah. All the alerts are coming through. Yeah, but you're right. I hope he doesn't mess up the second pick overall.
I jinxed it, man. I jinxed it, but
you did
all that smack talk about him.
Well, it does kind of suck for Eric Bieniemy because you'd heard so much about him and what they think he could have done for the offense and stuff like that. He'll get a head coaching job. There's others available.
Who?
Wouldn't be surprised to see him in Detroit.
Who?
Matt or Eric Bieniemy.
Oh yeah.
Detroit didn't hire anybody.
There's one team that I think that everyone's going to stay away from, and that's the Houston Texans because they are they're a drama mess, but they are in salary cap hell too. Like
there is like no redeeming thing about it. There's nothing there. Like you go there, you're in cap hell. You don't have first and second round picks.
No.
Yeah, that's bad. That's a bad thing, man. Maybe Freddie Kitchens will get a do-over there. But all right, let's go ahead.
No bandwagon fans in Duval. If you weren't a fan of us at 1-15, Don't be a fan at 4-12.
It's a oldie but goodie there.
I'm surprised nobody hired Jeff Fisher to be 7-9.
All right, let's see. I've got pack number 2 open, Brandon, and we are to the point again. Isaiah Thomas, Vlade Divac. They are duplicates. That much I know. Cliff Robinson, however, is not, though. So we got Cliff Robinson's rookie card right here.
We did get that one. Remember we talked about him passing away just recently.
Cliff Robinson, we did?
Yeah. Cliffy just passed away recently, and we talked about it.
Oh, we did
that card. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. This one's Olden Polynice of the Seattle basketball team, Seattle Supersonics. Mike Woodson, Johnny Dawkins, Joe Dumars, Purvis Short. All right. I think we may have to scrap this NBA trading card segment now because I'm getting all dupes, man. So instead of the third trading card segment, let's move over to our new segment.
Hold on. I'm not understanding this comment. This is one Jamokes made. It says Jets are hiring, the 49ers coordinator, Robert Saleh. And this one dude, he comments, Jets got a good one and Matt LaFleur for OC. I'm like, Matt LaFleur is going to leave Green Bay to be your.
He means Mike LaFleur.
Okay.
His brother.
Okay. That would make more sense.
Yeah.
I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
Which, if that's the case, that's a good move. Yeah. I would take him as OC there, but yeah. I think honestly, depending on what it is, Darnold, I still think Darnold is redeemable. So
I think so too, and I think that people that were so quick to dismiss him, I think they were really being stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hopeful that Saleh can just let the offense do their thing and then just scream at the defense all day.
Right. That's what, and that would be a wonderful thing. But all right, Brandon, we're gonna debut the news segment that we stole completely from a completely different podcast, but we're not going to name it that.
It's not going to be as good.
It's probably not going to be as good. But
I'm not.
We're gonna try. So this is a bit called that was originally called Headlines on another podcast. On Get Ready America, we called it News You May or May Not Be Able to Use. So here I'm going to say it's news. So news. Brandon, you pick the articles.
So
pick the headlines. 2. You say them. I don't know what they are. You say it, and we'll just kind of spitball and go from there. Again, this is the On the Fly podcast here. So
this one's kind of a follow-up to one of those earlier headlines that had me kind of laughing, and they were supposed to check in once it was official, once the election happened. I don't remember them following up, but there was an election in Nambia, local council elections in Nambia, that just elected a new person to be in there, and his name is Unona Adolf Hitler.
Unona Adolf Hitler?
Yes, his name is Unona Adolf Hitler.
Where is this again?
This is in Nambia.
In Nambia?
Yes. He won the election and says he has no plans for world domination. He was given the unfortunate name by his father. His father gave him this name, but did not realize who Hitler was and what he stood for.
Okay.
Because they're a poor nation.
I guess, given that country. I don't know.
He's 54.
How did he run, Brandon? What was his campaign slogan?
I'm not Hitler. Is a slogan. I don't know. Whatever it was good because he's 54 years old. In the town of Upunja, which is in the north part of the country of Nambia, he scored 85% of the vote. Getting to 85% on anything, that's maybe not a spelling or math test, is pretty big these days. You can't get more than usually like 51 to 52%.
I just brought up the picture. This dude looks like he hates the fact that he's got Adolf and Hitler in his name.
Yeah.
He looks like he
definitely
absolutely
is not a
despises
happy.
that.
It's a perfectly normal name for me when I was a kid, he said. It wasn't
Adolf
until I
Hitler.
grew older that I realized that this man wanted to subjugate the whole world and killed millions of Jews.
Man, oh
The
man.
fact I have this name does not mean I want to conquer Ohana, which is the local region. It doesn't mean I'm striving for world domination. He won his election by 1,196 votes.
Okay. Did they stop the count at a certain point, or?
I don't know.
No.
It was 85%.
All right.
So that's your first headline.
Well, you know what?
Congratulations, Hitler.
You go there.
Hitler's making a comeback.
Hitler's making that comeback. Everybody loves a good comeback story, except for
Here's
probably
one
everybody.
for you right now. This one is this has to do with Brexit. A lot of complicated things happening with Brexit. You can't do certain things, because once you leave the EU, there's new rules that happen when you go from one place to another. So this man was leaving Great Britain, and he was going to the border, the Dutch border. Okay. And this man was pulled over at the stop, and he had some items that were seized, which were illegal now due to Brexit.
Okay.
So they were basically confiscated and destroyed.
Okay.
There's EU rules that say you cannot bring meat and dairy from outside the block. So this man had 2 ham sandwiches confiscated at the border. They're neatly wrapped in tinfoil. And he says, "Do you have any meat on all the bread or not?" He says, "Yeah." Okay, then we take them all. So they took all of his sandwiches. The driver asked, "Can you just take the meat off the bread and leave me the bread?" But is informed everything's going to be confiscated. "Welcome to Brexit, sir. I'm sorry," says the smirking border control official at the Hook of Holland. The footage is believed to have been recorded last Wednesday, the January the 6th. The UK and EU finally negotiated a trade deal at the end of last year, meaning the rules have now changed. People traveling from non-EU countries into the bloc are not allowed to bring meat or dairy products with them. The rule is in place to guard against the potential of spread of animal diseases such as foot and mouth and swine fever. Travelers carrying undeclared meat and dairy can be fined or prosecuted under the new rules, which warn that any such products will be confiscated and destroyed. A limited amount of fruit and vegetables and honey and fish is allowed. The ham sandwiches were destroyed at the border.
Got a few of those.
Yeah. Figured you would know that one.
Wondered if he carried.
I'll have better headlines next week.
I wonder if he carried, in addition to that, not
Golf Digest
sandwiches, but maybe a couple cans of pork and beans. But
maybe a Golf Digest.
A Golf Digest. That's right.
That's what he was reading at the time.
Oh man, what a fucking shitty time of my life that was. All right. Divisional round weekend, Brandon. Yes, folks, it was an inside joke between Brandon and I right there. You just witnessed it right there. Hence the look on my face and the silence.
It's nothing as fun and playful as your boy.
Right. Well, yes. But the whole
that's a different inside
your boy
joke.
thing. That's like a group thing with the listening audience, the viewing audience, and you and I. The ham sandwich thing. That goes back some time, almost 2 decades there. All right, Brandon, big Saturday for those of us here in the Gear Network, just in general. Green Bay hosts the LA Rams. at 4:35 on Fox. And then following that on NBC, the Ravens go to Buffalo.
Yeah.
Big week. So let's talk about your team, the Packers, first, my man. Power Football Index has, of course, the nation picking Green Bay over LA by a percentage points of 65.1% to 34.9. So the nation agrees with you, of course, taking the Packers over the Rams. Brandon, talk this one up for me here. What do you see? Is this going to be more about Aaron Rodgers and the offense or LA Rams and the defense? Like, if the Rams win, is it going to be because of their defense?
It's the only thing that it's going to be.
Right.
It's going to be their defense. Their defense has to slow down Green Bay. Otherwise, they have no shot. They're going to get blown out.
Well, I'm looking at the season leaders. Just you break down the season leaders here, and this is a very telling stat line here. So I'm going to go through this here. Passing. Aaron Rodgers, 32 of 526, 4,299 yards, 48 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He faces off at the other side, Jared Goff, 370, 552, 3,952 yards, 20 touchdowns, 13 interceptions.
Yeah, and you got to figure into that too also that they're A, playing in the cold, and B, Jared Goff still has a surgically repaired thumb.
Right.
And Wolford's been ruled out, so Goff is starting for that game.
We go to the rushing, and you got Aaron Jones, 201 carries, 1,104 rushing yards, and 9 touchdowns to Akers over there at LA. 145 carries, 625 yards, 2 touchdowns. But then here's the big one here, and I think this is perhaps the biggest disparity between the two offenses here. Receiving yards. The receiving leader for the LA Rams, Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
92 receptions, 974 yards.
May not even play.
He
hasn't practiced yet.
Devonta Adams,
knee injury.
115 receptions, 1,374 yards, 18 touchdowns, 13 and a half games played to get all that. So,
and what Rams fans are hoping for and what Green Bay is scheming against is the fact that they're going to pair up Jalen Ramsey with Devonta Adams in hopes in slowing him down and making other guys do it. But the thing is that you take away one guy, Aaron Rodgers is going to find somebody else.
Right.
I mean,
as he did
look at
a game and a half when or 2.5.
So against the New Orleans Saints, he went and found Alan Lazard for 163 yards and 2 touchdowns without Devonta Adams. So Lazard elevated to number 1, and he still, had a big game. MVS is a big wild card because he is so fast. He has his moments where he does have drops. He had a drop in that last game against the Bears where he had a sure touchdown, and he dropped it. But, a few plays before that, he had a beautiful 70-yard touchdown that he caught, in stride, full, blown right by the coverage because he's really quick. So, Robert Tunyan is their tight end. He had 11 touchdown receptions this year. Nobody even knew who the hell he was before this year. He'd been on our team for 2 years. He didn't even have, I think he had just over 13 receptions, I think, for the first 2 seasons. So to have 11 touchdown receptions in his 3rd season, I mean, Rodgers has found him to be a very, big part of his game, especially when they go to two tight end set, because you don't know if they're going to run, and it may look like play action, so nobody covers the tight end coming out. Tight end's running free up the middle, and that's where Rodgers finds him. So it's going to be an interesting matchup because you're going with the number 1 scoring defense against the number 1 scoring offense.
Right.
It's all going to come down to, can Rodgers get rid of the ball quick enough? Can the line hold up where Aaron Donald's not just wreaking tons of havoc? And it's not just Aaron Donald. They have a couple other guys that are pretty good up front too.
So I think, in fairness, what it might end up boiling down to is the Rams offense versus the Packers defense.
It could be, but I still don't think it's going to be that. I still think Green Bay is going to get theirs. They've played some tough defenses this year and had no problem with them. The only team that they struggled with, and I think it was just a fluke game. It really was the Tampa Bay game. Rodgers just was off. And I think, honestly, I don't think he was right. He'll never admit to it. But if you remember early in the first quarter, when they thought they went up 14-0, when Rodgers ran that ball in and he took a good shot going into the end zone, and then he got up and he kind of did that weird like hip thrust for a celebration. I think he was hurt because that play was called back for a hold, and then the next play he short-armed a ball and it didn't get to Adams. It ended up at his feet and it ended up 4th down, and they ended up kicking a field goal and put him up 10-0. The next series he had it. He went to throw a ball, and that ball had like almost no zip on it, and it was picked off for a pick 6. And then his next one was picked off too. I don't think he was right for the rest of that game, and that's when the wheels fell off. Because if you look at the Tampa offense, they didn't do much. I mean, Brady threw for 126 yards in that game, but he had 3 touchdowns because they were set up in the red zone, pretty easily. So. Outside of that game, though, I mean, they're one of the few teams that lit up the Saints this year. The Saints had their full complement of players on the defensive side, and Green Bay still lit them up. So, I look at, can teams score against the Rams? When you look at the Rams, like opponents that they played, that had good offenses, like dynamic offenses, and they've only played 2 teams that had really dynamic offenses this year. And it was the Bills and the Bucks. Bills game, they lost 35-32. Buffalo put up 35 points on them.
Sorry, I'm having
Whoa, Siri. Nobody was talking.
Hey,
to.
Siri with an appearance on the podcast, ladies
and
and
then the other one they beat was Tampa Bay. And it was Brady, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Goff just barely beat him out, got the game-winning field goal, 2.5 minutes left. He threw 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That was the difference. So, you look at those 2 teams, they gave up some points. I mean, they gave up 24 against the Bucks, and they gave up 35 against the Bills. But you look at the rest of the teams they played. They played Dallas. Mm-hmm. They played the Eagles. They played the Giants. They played football team. They played a beat-up, terrible 49ers team. They played the Bears, the Dolphins. They played Seattle. Seattle's offense, nothing to write home about, I don't think. They played the 49ers again. They played the Cardinals. They ended up giving up 28 to the Cardinals and Kyler Murray, but they scored 38. They played the Patriots. I mean, again, late in the season, Patriots were not very good. Mm-hmm. They played the Jets and gave up 20.
They did.
They lost.
I was there for that.
They lost to the Jets. And they played Seattle again. And then they played the Cardinals. And then last week, again, they played the Seattle Seahawks. So, yes, they have the number 1 ranked defense. But if you look at the guys that they faced that were like true number 1s this year, mm-hmm. you would have to point to Stephon Diggs, who went up against Jalen Ramsey. And Diggs didn't have much of a day. Diggs in that game was 4 for 49 and a touchdown. But the big winner of that game was the secondary receiver. Cole Beasley had 6 for 100. And then you had Gabriel Davis for 481. I mean, 311 yards passing for Josh Allen in that game. When you look at the Tampa game and their true number 1, at that time, it's you have to go with Mike Evans. Mike Evans was 5 for 49 and a touchdown. Very similar, almost identical game to Stephon Diggs. Mm-hmm. But then he also got help from Godwin, who got 53 yards and a touchdown. And then Antonio Brown had 8 for 57. So the secondary guys are going to have to step up. But then you look at this and you're like, okay, well, the Rams had the number 1 scoring defense, but did they really play the level of competition that would warrant like saying, okay, yeah, this is a monster defense? It's hard to say if it's fool's gold or they're really that good. I think the truth lies somewhere in between, and I think they're an above average defense. And we've seen what Aaron Rodgers does to above average defenses.
All right, so we'll
copy Chicago Bears.
We'll see. It's going to be a great game to watch. We know that. Really quickly, the injury report, as you mentioned, Brandon John Wolford listed out, as well as Terrell Lewis, the linebacker for the Rams. Offensive tackle David Edwards and wide receiver Cooper Kupp listed as questionable. For Green Bay, we've got Patrick Taylor Jr. and Jared Veldier.
Yeah, he's the guy that
did I say his name right? Veldier?
Yeah, it's Veldier. He was on their practice squad, and he ended up getting picked up by the Colts. But since he was a practice squad signing, Green Bay was able to sign him again. So he would have been like the first player to play in 2 playoff games for 2 different teams in the same season.
Huh.
But he won't be because he got the COVID, and
boo.
He's on the COVID reserve list now. So that's why he's out.
All right,
and I think it's Mercedes Lewis, right?
Kingsley Keek is out as well, or actually he's listed as doubtful. My apologies there. All right, that moves on to game number 2 of Gear Network interest here. The Baltimore Ravens travel to Buffalo to play those Buffalo Bills. And here is an interesting thing. I've been using the matchup predictor with regards to Buffalo Bills matchups, specifically when I'm talking about them on Trust the Podcast with Ryan, and more often than not, the Buffalo Bills have been heavily favored. Power Football Index indicator this time, however, gives the slight edge to the Baltimore Ravens, not by a whole lot, 51.4%, so it's still within the range of being even, but they're leaning in favor of Baltimore. I don't know. This is going to be a good game, Brandon.
I think out of all the games this weekend, this is probably the one that's most prone to an upset. And even in an upset, it's not that big of an upset.
Right. Well, I'm on Trust the Podcast, I will say, and I think that will already be out before I publish this out for everybody. So, but I did give I gave it the same score that Buffalo and Indianapolis had, 27-24, because I think it's going to be close.
Oh yeah,
but I think it's one of those where it can go either way. I picked Buffalo for the sake of the podcast, but I really wouldn't be surprised if Baltimore does in fact win this game. You still there?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Like, I think that Baltimore has a legit chance of winning this game because I think that Baltimore has a legit defense. Mm-hmm. And I think that if you watched last week's game where the Colts have a pretty good defense too, I don't think the Colts defense is as good as the Ravens. I think the Ravens have a better defense. I think the X factor here is that Lamar Jackson can move and Phillip Rivers can't.
Right.
And I think that was the difference, because if you look at what happened to Buffalo on Sunday, or was it Saturday? It was Saturday. It was Saturday last week. If you look at what happened to them, they got gouged in the run game. And that is a big component of Baltimore's offense, is they're a run-heavy team. And then they pretty much play the pass off the run. They set up that pass, and Lamar Jackson will surprise you. He will hit some throws that you didn't think he was going to hit, but it's set up by that offense, and they're running the ball. Buffalo seems to struggle with run game. I mean, they had fits with Jonathan Taylor last week. I mean, there was big plays that came out of those things. There was like 57-yard, scampers, and it was like all of a sudden Colts are in the red zone again. So if Buffalo's offense is not firing this week, and Baltimore kind of slows them down a bit, they are very susceptible to losing that game, because I'm not really sold on Buffalo's defense right now.
Oh, no. That's the thing.
I think that's what's going to kill them.
Covering this team all season, that's been the biggest X factor. It's been the defense.
Some weeks they look really good, and then other weeks they're like, do you even know how to play football?
Right, exactly. And last week I think was what we got a mix of both with that Bills defense, because again, it could have gone. It very well could have gone either way. It could have gone to Indianapolis.
I mean, the Colts blew that game.
Yes.
I mean, they had opportunities. I mean, they had a, potential 10-point to 14-point swing at the end of that half, where they, for some reason, are going with gadget plays at, second and goal from the 1. Hand it off 3 times and run it up the middle. You don't get there after if you can't get an NFL yard, running the ball up the middle, you got to run with gadgets. You don't deserve to get in the end zone. You don't even deserve to be in the playoffs.
All right.
And instead of going for it, they go for it, and then they go with some half-cocked pass play and don't get there. They get no points instead of even 3. You go with 3, okay, you feel better. You've got the lead expanded a little more, and you put more pressure on Buffalo. But Buffalo's riding the high of, hey, we just stopped these guys at the goal line, and now we've got all this timeout, these timeouts and all this time left on the clock. They go down there and march down the field, and they get their touchdown. Like, that's a huge momentum swing. That's a real big swing, especially in a 3-point game. And the Colts missed a field goal too. So, that game could have very been won by the Colts. So, if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, I've got both Buffalo Bills fans. I got both Buffalo Bills fans who are like, it's going to be a tough game on Sunday or Saturday. I'm kind of nervous about it because Baltimore comes in hot. Lamar Jackson he's got that swagger back, that MVP swagger back that he kind of lost early in the year this year. And the pressure of being home and the expectations, everyone's talking about you now. Everyone's, on the Buffalo bandwagon. You've got those people, and then you've got the other chuckleheads who think they're going to, go out there and in terms of molly whoop.
Oh, God.
The Ravens. It's like,
oh, God.
I'm not scared of Lamar Jackson. He ain't nothing. I'm like, okay, you don't watch football then. Like,
well, you know what it is
people,
a lot of them are saying, sourcing or citing last year's game, Buffalo versus Baltimore, when Buffalo had kept it very close with Baltimore and almost won that game.
They also had a better defense last year.
They had a way better defense last year than they did this year, and that was the argument that I actually made with Ryan today when we talked about it. I said this is a completely different Buffalo Bills team on both ends of the ball. Josh Allen, I think, has come along enough to where he can make something happen. Maybe not, last year he was showing signs of that and was doing that too, but now he's expected to do it now versus then where it was, maybe he could, maybe he couldn't kind of thing. But you knew the defense had their back. This year, they've been winning because of Josh Allen. You know, last year's Bills team, the 2019-2020 Bills team, were winning, dare say, in spite of Josh Allen. And in this year's team, 2020-2021, they're winning because of him, not that defense. So that's what it's, in my opinion, that's what it's going to boil down. Saturday's games, Brandon, obviously we know you have the Packers, Ravens, Bills. Who you got?
I'm torn on this one, but honestly, like, watching both these teams and their arcs and where they're headed and where they're at, I give the edge to Baltimore because of the defense.
All right. You and I, my friend,
if they lose, they lose. I mean,
right? Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. If they lose,
it's not going to be that shocking. Like it's like, oh wow, it's a huge upset that Buffalo won.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
I don't think it's a huge upset either way.
There's no upset in this unless it's a poor game, in my opinion.
It's legit an even money game.
But that said, I'm sticking with the brand, Brandon. I can talk. The brand, Brandon, and I'm going with the Buffalo Bills.
All right.
This takes us to Sunday. Browns, Chiefs. Who you got?
I got the Chiefs.
All right.
At home. I think that they're going to turn it on. I think they've kind of been sleepwalking the last 4 or 5 weeks because, they won the Super Bowl. They didn't really get a lot of challenges this year outside the Raiders. They had a close game against the Chargers. I guess you can call it a close game against Buffalo. It's still like they got Pat Mahomes. I'm not going to bet against Pat Mahomes in the playoffs, especially the first round at home. I don't know. I can't see where they
Brandon,
lose the Browns. The
ESPN's
only way I can
football-
say it.
ESPN's Power Football Index rates 81.3% of ESPN Sports Nation in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, and I do agree that they are the favorite. The only way that I see this game going the other way is if they have the miscues that the Steelers had last game and Cleveland's able to capitalize on them like they were against Pittsburgh. But this is a different beast. You've got Pat Mahomes, not Ben Roethlisberger.
Right.
The other X factor is that KC's run defense is very suspect. They've struggled with it the entire year. Now, last year, if you remember, KC's defense wasn't very good either. And so it was kind of like, okay, can these guys make a run? And then all of a sudden the defense became a strong point for the Chiefs. So do they have that gear? Because if Cleveland can run the ball and do ball control offense and keep Pat Mahomes on the sidelines, and they limit his chances on there, and you ask your defense to get 1 or 2 stops, would I be shocked if Cleveland won? Yeah, probably. But would it be all that surprising? No, because I think that Cleveland is an actually pretty good team. They're pretty well balanced. I mean, they've got a great run game. Mayfield is doing well. They've designed that offense finally for Baker Mayfield with the rollout passing game, play action, but that all is predicated on the run. He's got good wide receivers. He's got good tight ends. He's got Njoku and Hooper at tight end. So, there's some more outlets. You've got Landry in the receiving core. And then you look at their defense. You've got one of the best pass rushers in the league in Myles Garrett. They're getting healthy now and guys off the COVID reserve list in the corners. So the defense is going to be a little stronger. They're going to get their Pro Bowl offensive lineman back. So, Cleveland's going to come in and, they're going to have a little swagger because they did kind of slay a beast in their mind. I mean, they've only won 2 games against Pittsburgh in their last 28 tries. So, maybe it's them kind of getting over that psychological hump, and then they're coming out here again and everyone's like, yeah, the Browns ain't winning. Like, Browns are going to get crushed. And, maybe they use that as fuel and maybe something happens. You never know. If I was betting, though, I would still take Kansas City.
All right. I would too, as well as everybody. I think Cleveland's story is great. I love the fact that they finally ended their playoff drought. I love the fact that they got their first win. Part of me kind of wants to see, or I would really, really enjoy, I think the idea of Buffalo hosting an AFC playoff championship game, AFC championship game against Cleveland. I think it would be incredible, but I think it would be even more incredible if we didn't have the limits, the 6,700 limits or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly.
This house. I mean, that would be tremendous. That said, it is Pat Mahomes. It is the defending champs. They do play in completely differently than anybody else in this league, and everybody knows that. I don't think the Cleveland Browns are going to win. I'm going to take Pat Mahomes on that tidbit alone. And then finally, Brandon, the other final game, Sunday night game, 6:40, Tampa Bay against New Orleans at the Superdome. This is another one that falls within that that range of could go either way. Power Football Index has 53.6% of the survey takers, if you will, there choose the New Orleans Saints over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I personally do not see that happening. It's very difficult for one team to beat another 3 times in a season.
Unless they're the Green Bay Packers beating the Chicago Bears. But
this is true. This is a very true statement. Or anybody playing the New York Jets. But who am I kidding? The Jets don't play 3 times a year.
Unless you're counting preseason.
But that being said, I'm actually taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on this one. I know Drew Brees also has a lot of playoff experience and all that stuff, but Tom Brady is the playoffs. Tom Brady is Tom Brady. Nobody's won more playoff games than him. He's 6 Super Bowls, regardless of whether or not they were all in New England, in his first season in a brand new system after 20 seasons of the same coach and, the consistency to do what he did. And clearly he had his adjustment period or whatever. He threw for 12 interceptions this season, but he still managed to throw for 40 touchdowns. He's still one of the smartest people in the game. He's still Tom freaking Brady. Drew Brees is on the tail end of his career. This may very well be his last game. And honestly, I don't know. I think that the better team coming in here is Tom Brady. I don't, and the Buccaneers. Brady plays on a different level when it comes to these big time games. He is definitely big time Tom, and he can. I don't think this Buccaneers team that goes in there is going to be the Buccaneers team that New Orleans saw twice before.
I don't know. I'm having a hard time agreeing with that. And there's a reason that I think is being missed. Tom Brady is in a new offense, and that offense is predicated on the long vertical pass. They want to go with the long vertical play. Those things require 2 things. One is time in the pocket to be able to get those guys to develop those routes and go deep. And 2, average corners or zone defenses. Zone defenses, if you can break the zone, if you can blow through, blow by a safety, make some double moves, get by somebody. You can get those. Sorry,
I don't mean to be laughing.
Open.
It's nothing. It's nothing you said.
Yeah, it's you burped.
Pettiness that I'm here. So I felt right here.
Yeah,
I felt a burp. Kind of was a big one, and I knew it. So very politely, I clicked mute, and I burped, and it was every bit as loud as I imagined it was going to be. So loud, in fact, that apparently Zoom thought I was trying to talk. And it gave me the pop-up reminder over your face saying, press the space button if you just want to say something pretty quickly or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So that made me laugh. But I'm sorry, Brandon. Go ahead.
I think the reason that the Bucks got hammered both times against the Saints is because of their defense. And the fact that their defense matches up really well with Tampa's scheme. And I don't think Brady's going to have the time that he had against, say, Chicago last week. I think Tampa is very much I think they could be a fool's gold type of team where you look at the numbers, you look at all these things kind of like the Rams were. Like the Rams were wow, the Rams defense #1 in scoring defense. But then you look at their opponents and it becomes a little less impressive. I think you can say the same about the Saints, or not the Saints, the Bucks. They lost those 2 games to the Saints. The first game of the season, you kind of excuse that. You're like, okay, they haven't played together, weird COVID off season, new guys. Of course, there's going to be some rust there. So then they go out and they get some confidence by beating the Panthers, Broncos, and Chargers. Somehow, inexplicably, they lose to the Bears, and then they go hammer the Packers, the Raiders, and the Giants, and you think, okay, Bucks are on the right path. They're now 6-2, and they're coming in to play New Orleans, and they're at home. And then they get the shit kicked out of them, 38-3. And then you're like, oh, great. They're in trouble again. And then they go and they play the Panthers and they destroy the Panthers. Then they barely lose to the Rams. They lose the same score to the Chiefs. 2 good teams as well. And then you look, they beat the Vikings, Falcons, Lions, and Falcons to close out the season, and then played a pretty thin and not very good Bears team, or not Bears team. They played in the playoff game against fuck did they just play? The Bears played the Saints. The Washington football team. Sorry, they played the Washington football team. Tampa did.
The Bucs played the football team.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it's a good win, but is anybody going? Look out for those Washington football team. I mean, they had troubles with a guy who was taking online courses at Old Dominion. Running around as quarterback, put up 23 points and got the ball back to try to go and tie that game. Yes, Brady looked good against Washington's defense, but again, Washington plays a zone. And they were able to break the zone and get more points. So I'm not so sure that you can pencil this one in and say, oh, the Bucs are hot right now and the Saints are not so much. I think I'm not penciling it because of that. I think a lot of people are.
For me, it's more what I've seen, what I feel, in terms of the whole. It's hard to beat the same team. If the Buccaneers let one team beat them 3 times, there's a big problem there.
If there's a team that beats them 3 times, it's going to probably be the Saints.
No, I guess, yeah.
They're not. I mean,
so you have the Packers, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Saints.
Yeah,
I've got the Packers, the Bills, the Chiefs and the Bucs. So, yeah. All right, we'll see. We'll go 50-50. We'll see who
50-50s. I don't know. I think that New Orleans defense kind of has Brady's number. I mean, he threw the first game. You can go, okay, well, let's excuse that because it was the first game that the Bucs had all those guys together. But I mean, Brady threw 2 interceptions in that game, and then they played the second game where he's had the time, and he threw 3 interceptions and no touchdowns. So there's something that the Saints defense is doing to confuse and frustrate Tom Brady. I mean, Tom Brady threw 10 picks this year? Is that the number?
Yes. I believe that.
He threw 10 picks, right? No, he threw 12.
12.
But almost half of those came against the Saints.
All right. That's a very fair point.
Played 14 other games and got 7 interceptions.
All right. Well, I guess we will see.
It's going to be
we will convene next week and do that. Really quickly, 2 more notes.
I'm a big Tom Brady guy.
One, on the sports analyst board, Brandon Alberto Ortiz, Captain New York, writes, did Urban Meyer get Justin Fields to switch schools? ? UGA, arrow pointing OSU, serious question. Berto, Urban Meyer ain't going to draft Justin Fields first overall. We're not getting Trevor Lawrence, man. Sorry. Focus that energy on Salah and getting us the Denzel, or not Denzel Mims. What the hell? Devonta Smith. Do that. That's number 1. And number 2, I can finally say, Brandon, after 40 years on this planet, that a dream of mine finally came true. Came true last Saturday. I finally got to hear an F-bomb on Nickelodeon. So there's that. What else you got, man? You're laughing at.
I'm laughing at this meme that just got posted. It says Scottie Pippen out here looking.
Dude, I freaking just saw that in the corner of my eye on Sports Analyst here. Like, what the hell?
Looking like a retired Redskins logo. Oof.
Good God.
Holy
that is, yeah,
shit.
that is a hell of a way to end it. You know what? Scottie Pippen, you shine on, you crazy diamond, you. All right. With that being said, that's going to end it for this edition of the Listening Podcast on the Gear Radio Network. Again, hey, in the episode description, if you are hankering for some energy, click that link in our episode bio. It'll take you to repsports.com, and it's the promo code GEAR for 15% off on Ray's energy drinks and Rep Sports products. As well, listening to the commercials start to finish in this entire podcast, that helps us greatly, and we thank you for that. Again, just for the hell of it, ProWrestlingTees.com/Brody Lee. Get a shirt for my old pal Brody Lee. Gonna do that all month for this, just because. Why not? And that's about it. Brandon, great podcast, my man. Let's do it again very soon, shall we?
Yeah, next week, man.
All right, next week. Good day to you, sir.
Good day to you.
So long, everybody. Good night now. Flavor, yeah, boy, for my new coach.
Yeah, boy!
Hang on, one more thing before you go. Remember, listen to our sponsors following this podcast, as that does help this podcast and this network out in a way that we appreciate very, very much. So if you could just ride it out 30 to 60 more seconds after this podcast is over, listen to those commercials, it would be doing us a very, very big solid. And again, we thank you.
This has been a presentation of the Gear Radio Network. For more, log on to gearnetwork.com.